Make sure you guys hit the subscribe button if you guys are enjoying the content that we're throwing up. And make sure you guys hit the like button if you enjoy the video. And yeah, let's begin. What's going on, guys? This is Rob, and we are back again with the events of Joker War. This time we're on part 3. And if I'm being honest with you guys, I think we are getting what is more or less a new Red Hood. And I'll explain what I mean here in a minute, because there's Red Hood as you guys know him, and then there's Jason Todd the way he originally was, which I feel like only the most diehard fans would probably know. But this initially picks up in Tri-Corner Yards, right? Basically the shipyards in Gotham City. And we basically got Punchline. Now again, this is one of the things that I love that James Tynion's doing with Punchline. With Harley Quinn, this is something that's kind of interesting. With Harley Quinn, she was the sidekick of the Joker, but more insofar as she was like the comic relief, as well as the one that was designed to kind of maintain the sex appeal. With Punchline, sure, she's somewhat drawn in that way, but she's a lot more hands-on in terms of like the Joker's ongoing operations, making sure things run. Like she's like a field commander, more or less. It's kind of what you would expect. But I do really like the nature of Punchline. One of the big things that kind of goes into this though is that with all these containers being moved, this is all part of the Joker toxin, right? The Joker basically plans to use on the city of Gotham. The problem with this is that the henchmen of the Joker are a little uncertain about going into what's basically the Narrows, right? Like the shady part of town. And you wouldn't really expect that of the Joker henchmen. They're literally criminals and thugs, right? Like if anybody was going to be at home in the Narrows, it would be these guys. But there's something in the Narrows that scares the crap out of them. And what we end up doing is picking up with the Narrows the day before, right? In this neighborhood. And we pick up with Clownhunter. Now this is kind of the cool thing. This is why I say this guy, I think, is kind of like the new Jason Todd, right? Like the new Red Hood. So what you end up having was a couple of the henchmen of the Joker who were basically driving the Batmobile, or at least one version of the Batmobile. And Clownhunter ended up tracking them down and then basically, incapacitated the vehicle using like a fire hydrant, right? Because it's like electrically powered and so on. So this guy basically figures out a way to short circuit the Batmobile, which, if I'm being honest with you guys, kind of on the fence about, right? I feel like if Batman were going to create a vehicle designed to basically allow him to fight crime in the city of Gotham, one of the first things he would think of is what happens if it gets wet? What happens if it's raining outside? But that's kind of the cool thing, right? This kid's ingenuity, because it wasn't simply just water that led to this thing being short-circuited. It was him bringing like a portable transformer, and that's all it really took, right? Just like an electrical base, some water, and then like a huge surge of electricity. And so with this thing being incapacitated, he ends up cracking one of the windows and then pours gasoline inside and sets it on fire, and the guys burn alive. The reason why I say I feel like this guy is the new Red Hood is because when it comes to Jason Todd, there's two versions of his character. There's Jason Todd as he was originally created, then there's Jason Todd, the character who he became after the events of Crisis on Infinite Earths. So in the original appearances of Jason Todd, while you didn't necessarily see him do anything as hardcore as this, there was an instance where he actually pushed a criminal off a ledge. Now, by the time Batman got up there, the criminal had fallen, and the response to Jason Todd was, well, he fell, there was nothing I could do, but it was heavily alluded to that Jason pushed him over, right? Like Jason was the reason that guy died. And it was kind of given to us that Jason was not Dick Grayson, right? Dick Grayson was the guy, like he was a believer, right? Like he believed in the cause of Batman, and he fought alongside Batman, and until he decided to go on and become Nightwing, that kind of a thing, but he never would have gone down that darker path. Jason Todd did, and that was something that fans didn't like, right? Fans didn't like the idea of Jason Todd becoming more extreme, more intense, combined with the fact that his origin was basically identical to Dick Grayson's, right? They saw him as like a darker carbon copy of Dick Grayson himself. And so that's why you went into the post-crisis landscape. DC changed his origin, fans still hated him, so they got him, they basically killed him off. But Jason Todd was very, very dark in his early appearances in DC Comics, right? And that's what this feels like, right? This feels like Jason Todd the way he originally was. And that's why I say I think this is important, because I have a hard time believing that some character named Clownhunter that's given a name by James Tynion, established in terms of who this guy is, that he's tracking down the various villains of the Joker, that he's killing them off everywhere that he can find them. I have a hard time believing this kid's just going to kind of be thrown away. What I think is going to happen is that at the end of all this, he's going to be taken under Batman's wing, and he's going to become the new Robin. Maybe not the new Robin per se, maybe just kind of like a different name, but it's going to lead to like Damian Wayne probably, continuing to be Robin, but doing his thing on the Teen Titans, and this guy becoming the new sidekick of Batman, right? I'm not really sure how that'll go down, but that's kind of what it feels like. But what it leads to is it leads to Punchline basically saying, okay, fine, if this is the case, I'll go and track this person down myself or get a hold of the Joker or whatever, but like your job is to get this to his destination. If you have to go around the Narrows, then go around the Narrows. But if it's not where it needs to be in time, then you guys are going to be the ones I'm going to point the finger to. And do you really want the Joker coming after you because you missed your shipment? Make your choice, but make sure you choose wisely. Now, the other part of this is it switches over to Batman dealing dealing with this movie theater full of all these corpses. And the Joker hits in, and this is something that I love the most. And this is why I love what James Tynion's doing with Batman. You end up having the Joker talking to Bruce Wayne, right? I mean, he's kind of been taunting him, giving him a bit of a hard time while Batman's dealing with all this. And he says, you know, I wonder which one of these people hate you more, right? Because like these are all corpses of people who have died at my hands. I wonder which ones hate you more. The ones who basically died at the very beginning of all this when you underestimated how many people would die in all of our conflicts, or the ones who died recently, knowing the longer I was out there, the more people I would kill. And that's the coolest line of logic, because that's one of the things that I've always kind of said about Batman, that while people will say, well, Batman doesn't kill, right? That's the rule of Batman. The question becomes like, is it a good rule to have, right? Just because it's a rule doesn't mean that it's a good rule. And when you're talking about so many bystanders being killed on a regular basis, then what it does is it allows you to shine Batman in different lights, right? You can shine Batman in a more positive light and say, see, he's a good hero, he doesn't kill. But then you can shine him in what's really a more realistic light and say, yeah, but his villains do. And for every villain that he leaves, that basically gets out onto the streets, and Batman believes in this rehabilitation tactic, and then in turn gets these villains back into Arkham Asylum, knowing they're probably going to escape, or they're going to get back out, they're probably going to end up killing some people, then it turns into, is Batman really doing Gotham any good? Because if he knows the villains are going to escape, but he won't kill them, and he knows the villains are going to kill people, Batman is in effect sacrificing innocent lives for his belief that he can rehabilitate, you know, villains like the Joker. That's basically what it is, right? The rehabilitation of the Joker is more important than the life of the average person. We know that by virtue of Batman's actions. And that's what makes this discussion and this debate so cool. Is Batman really a good hero? Can you really call yourself a good hero if you willingly and knowingly sacrifice the lives of innocent people in order to try to fix a villain? There has to come a time when you basically say, okay, enough is enough. I'm not willing to sacrifice any more innocent lives for you. Like, I will break my code for this. Like, sure, it'll make me as bad as you, but the city will be better for it. It's an amazing little philosophy here that the Joker has, kind of pointing at that fallacy of Batman, right? Like, look at all of these innocent people that I've killed, and think of all the other innocent people that I'm going to kill, because I'm going to make all of them relive your experience. I'm literally paying them to come to this theater, and they're going to watch The Mask of Zorro, and they're going to have the time of their life, and then I'm going to start pumping my Joker toxin in here, and they're going to die, and they're going to be reanimated with these nanites as one of my henchmen, right? So they have no idea it's coming, but we're going to do this over and over and over and over again. It's awesome. I think that the way the Joker is being handled here is amazing, because I think one of the biggest problems the Joker has over the years in DC Comics is the Joker's only ever really shown in one of like 2 or 3 different ways. You're either given the super silly Joker from like Steve Englehart, you get like the silly and the sadistic Joker, which is what you got back in like the 40s with Bob Kane and Bill Finger when he first popped up, or you get like the Scott Snyder New 52, just crazy twisted Joker. But to have this version here, who's kind of like a combination of all of them, right? Like he's silly, he's twisted, but he's also incredibly dark, makes this some of the best Joker storytelling that I've read in a long time. And that's my question. Which version of the Joker do you guys like more? Do you like the one from like the New 52 Batman run, or do you like this version? Because I'll be honest with you guys, I kind of like this version more, right? Like, I love the way it's drawn, and I love the way he acts, and I love his plan. I really dig that. Now, the other thing here is, remember, while Batman is hallucinating because of this toxin, he is feeding on it, right? So Alfred's been dead. Alfred's been dead since the events, since he was killed during City of Bane, during Tom King's Batman run. And so Batman, you know, basically hallucinating Alfred is a way for him to essentially control this hallucination experience that he's having, to control all of that. Now, where his mind and where the Joker kind of starts getting into his head, and he actually starts to hallucinate all these different people who are coming after him as Jokers, right? When in reality, they're just, you know, corpses, essentially. Batman's able to basically issue an EMP that will take out his earpiece, so he won't really be able to hear Alfred anymore, quote unquote. And of course, it'll take out the nanites that are controlling all these corpses. They basically kind of have them coming back, right? Because they're not truly reanimated undead. It's not like Night of the Living Dead kind of stuff going on here. It's not really like a biological agent or anything along those lines. But once Batman makes his way out of the theater and then collapses while hallucinating his parents, he's rescued by Harley Quinn again. Now, this is where the Joker gets cool, is because what we end up doing is jumping back to him, right? We've got Punchline showing up here and basically saying, hey, there's this kid out there in the Narrows that's basically taking out our henchmen, right? Taking out our guys. And where she thinks the Joker's going to respond with like being pissed off and throwing stuff around, instead, like, the Joker's excited about it. And when she asks why, she's like, why would you be so happy about this? He's like, because this is truly chaos that we're finally seeing, right? We're finally seeing chaos happening. That whenever you saw like Batgirl, or for the most part in more recent years, the Red Hood, and even the Red Hood was a little sketchy, but whenever you saw like Damian Wayne, you know, like Robin, or you saw Tim Drake, or you saw Dick Grayson, you saw some other member of the Bat family, it was, we don't kill, right? Like, we'll beat you within an inch of your life, but we won't really go past that inch. You know, we don't kill people. It was always the rule of Gotham. But now we've got true chaos out here. We've got people who don't follow the rules of Batman anymore. You got people out there taking the law into their own hands because there's nobody else out there to maintain law and order. And so it's like, this is true chaos now. Like, this is what I was hoping for. This is what I was looking for. And so the response is like, okay, I mean, do we let this guy live and keep doing his thing? And the Joker's like, of course not. Kill him. Like, crucify the guy. So people know that he can't do that. But it's just cool to see. This is one of the funny little Joker moments. What he ends up telling, like, he kind of makes this comment to Punchline, like, it's time for me to finally basically off Harley Quinn, right? To get rid of Harley Quinn. Punchline loves that because now she feels like she's actually the number one in the Joker's life, which, as we know by virtue of Harley Quinn's experience, it's not always the case. But then you have Batman who kind of wakes up in like this crazy wonky looking place, who's like licked by a dog, and he's like, Ace, is that you? Oh, buddy, I've missed you so much. I haven't seen you in so long, Ace. And it's like, yeah, it's me, Ace the Bat Hound. And then it turns out it's Harley Quinn. I loved that. I saw that. I probably laughed for a solid 2 minutes, right? Like, I thought that was hilarious. But anyway, Batman basically wakes up and Harley Quinn says, this place is Eden. And this is a cool little expansion here. She really says that, like, within the city of Gotham, there's little secrets and little hideouts, little places that you don't know about, where us various villains get together and we meet or we relax and recuperate. This is awesome. You know, and I think this is in a lot of ways building on Snyder's Batman run. And that's why the New 52 Batman run by Scott Snyder was just the stuff of legend, because it did these small little things where it introduced elements, whether they were huge or small, that changed the way that we saw Batman. Because we always thought of Bruce Wayne as like the Caped Crusader, right? The guy who knows Gotham like the back of his hand. And then you get into New 52 and it's like, there's this criminal enterprise that's been operating in the city of Gotham for hundreds of years and Batman never knew about it. And then you go here into James Tynion and it's like, there's these small little nooks and crannies that Batman doesn't know about. It shows how ingenuitive the criminals are. Like, it shows how intelligent they are, and like finding places, like they know Batman's haunts, so they know which places to go to and they know which places to avoid. And it's cool to have that, right? Because apparently Poison Ivy put all this together. And initially it was made for Harley Quinn when seemingly she left Joker at one period in time and was struggling with their split, right? With their separation. And it was designed to basically help her relax, and it was help her kind of get away from things. She ends up feeding Batman this kind of cocktail and says, this will basically flush the entire toxin out of your system. But be aware, man, it's going to take you for one hell of a ride. Harley Quinn, like her face turns into the Joker. Like her neck snaps sideways. It just gets wonky. Batman starts losing his mind and it's like, okay, like this, like none of this is real. And then suddenly he's met by the arrival of Alfred. And it's like, you know, I'm very sorry, Master Bruce, but like, I think it's time that we have a very serious talk. Now, we know Alfred's not actually here, but what this feels like it's going to do is go into Alfred and Batman, and really kind of Batman more or less having a conversation with himself, and it's going to elevate his character. And I'm very, very excited to see what this comic's going to be about. But with that being said, guys, we're going to bring this video to an end. If you are new here to Comics Explained, make sure you guys hit the sub button to become part of the Rob Corps. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you drop a like, and I will catch you all later. Peace.